Hello and welcome back. This video is to help you draw the orthographic projection, or the three views of the chassis bracket. The chassis bracket is this little object here that has a flat surface with a big round surface, a hole in it, and a couple of variations in these planes right here. Here is the isometric sketch that you're going to follow where you can get your measurement. And we are going to start by drawing the front view. Now I've already created a title block, a border line. I'm ready to work in the working space. Remember, we're going to put the front view in this lower left-hand corner, and your instructions tell you to start that drawing 1 inch away from the border line. I'm going to slide my board over here so you can see. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So my first measurement is going to be 1 inch away from the border. I'm going to draw a light horizontal line to start the drawing. And I'm going to measure 1 inch away from the left-hand border. And then I'm going to draw a light vertical line. Now, what's interesting about the saddle bracket is that, and this is not quite to scale. This is actually half the scale that it should be. But the first thing we're going to do, or need to do, is identify the center of that circle. I'm going to do that by measuring the distance of this plane, and then measuring the distance from the bottom all the way up to the center of that circle, and I'm going to measure over from this left-hand side to get to the center of that circle. So, our instructions tell us that every grid on this sketch equals 1/2 of an inch. You've done this before. So if I count the distance from the bottom, I'm going to go up 2 grids. So the height of this plane right here is 1 inch. Once I'm at the top of that plane, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 inches. So from the bottom of this surface to the center of that point is this line plus this distance right here, and that is 1 1/2 inches. So the distance from, this is kind of hard to draw on this view, but the distance from the bottom of this plane to the center of that circle is going to be 2 1/2 inches. So I'm going to measure up from the bottom and draw a line across at 1 inch. And from that, I'm going to measure up 1.5 inches to identify this horizontal dimension. While I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and measure out this entire distance here. I'm going to do it at this line right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this entire distance from here all the way across this chassis bracket is 8 grids. 8 grids is going to give me 4 inches. This line is 2 grids, so that's 1 inch. This line is 2 grids, so that's 1 inch. And remember that I'm looking at this as my front view. Now, before I begin, I'm going to take just a minute with a piece of scratch paper. And it's not required on this drawing that you draw this sketch. But I'm going to go ahead and sketch out what the front view is going to look like. I'm going to have a line across the bottom. I'm going to have 2 vertical lines on either side to create this plane. I have a square here and a square there. That represents those bottom 3 planes. Now I want to identify the center of the circle, so I'm going to go up and over to the center. And what I'll do is I'm going to draw this out and identify. I said that the distance from this bottom line to this line right here, I called that out at 2 1/2 inches. Well, I also said by reading this sketch right here that this overall distance here would be 4 inches. Well, that actually tells me from this sketch this radius goes all the way across from one side to the other. So if this radius is 4 inches, so is the radius of that circle. So half of that radius to get to the center would be 2 inches. So I'm going to identify this. I'm going to draw a line straight down on both sides of this sketch. And I'm going to identify that this distance here is 2 inches. That's going to allow me to know where this curve is going to go, like that. So the radius of this circle, which is all the way across, is 4 inches, but the diameter is 2 inches. There's almost the front view. The last thing to draw in here is this little circle right here. And let's see if we can figure out how big that circle is. Well, that circle has a diameter of 1.5 grids. That's the radius. From the center to an edge is 1.5. The other side is 1.5. So 1.5 and 1.5 is 3 grids. So the distance across the center of this is 3 grids. I can count them out if I go half and 1, 2, and 3. So 3 grids. So then this radius from side to side, now I'm going to draw a little note right here. This is going to be 1 1/2 inch diameter with a 3/4 inch radius. And I'm going to write it down that way because so that you'll have it in this video so you can draw that circle the correct size. Okay? So now let's go ahead. Let's take our sketch, our isometric sketch, our little front view. Oh, we can draw a little circle on here, this circle right here. That's what the front view will look like right there. So let's go ahead and zoom out, and let's go ahead and draw that in. So I've already identified where I'm going to start the circle. I mean the distance here. It's going to be, let me see if I can put this into view right here when we draw it. See if that'll stay right there. I'm going to measure across 4 inches. I'm going to measure up 1 inch. That was this little part right here, this 1 inch. And then I'm going to measure another, or from the bottom, 2.5. So I'm going to go up 1 inch. And then I'm going to go up 2.5. Now I'm using the opposite end of the scale. I'm measuring from 12 because if I put it this way, it's kind of hard for you to see. So the first line I'm going to draw is this horizontal line. And I'm going to draw another horizontal line to draw a circle. I'm going to measure in this 2-inch line right here. And then I'm going to draw a vertical line. Now, when it comes time to draw, I'm going to draw a vertical line over here too. When it comes time to draw in a circle, this can be a challenge because you don't have a circle template. I'm just darkening these lines a little bit so you can see them in the video. So for this class, you have a couple of options. The first thing is I don't actually own a circle template big enough to draw that 4-inch ellipse. What I would recommend that you use is a compass. Now I have a very inexpensive compass here. Very inexpensive. But what I need to do is I need to set this compass to that 2 inches. So to do that, I can hold my compass at basically the 0 mark and then set it up to where the dividers are at 2 inches. Like that right there. Now, you're going to put the center pointer in the very center. Now, be very careful that you don't actually poke a hole into the paper and into the board. should line up with that line. And then what I'd like to do is I like to sweep this backwards. And draw on that line. Just don't poke a hole into the board. That's going to be there forever. Another way that this can be done is you can use the template that I gave you in your notebook. You can use the 4-inch template. You can untape the corner. You can slide it underneath. You can find the center point. You can find the 4-inch circle, and you can trace that. You can repeat the same exact thing for the inch and 1/2 inch diameter. That's why I gave you the diameter for the center circle. So you can slide this under here, line up the center point by looking through the paper and tracing that. You could use a compass. An inexpensive compass would be fine. Or if you have available to you, you could use an actual circle template. And I'm going to use a circle template because I've shown you the other options. And I'm going to do this one right now just to speed the process along. There are 2 more little lines to draw on this. As I count the grids, I know each of them is 1 inch. And then I can draw those vertical lines. So with those vertical lines drawn in, those last 2, we have now completed the front view. Okay, and there's, whoops, that line is not very good. There's the front view. All right, now the next step is project and draw the top view. Top view is very easy. There's a plane here, and then this little U-shaped looking thing here, that's it. And then project the right side view. Easier still, just an L-type shape. I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to project some lines, and I'm going to draw in those 3 or the other 2 views. Okay, I'm back to show you that I have projected lines from the front view to the right side view. This is one of the circumstances where I drew the right side view. I felt it was a little easier. Then I projected those lines. I just measured over, looking at this sketch, just calculating how thick everything was, or the sizes. And then I projected up to my miter line. Remember, the miter line was drawn using a 45-degree triangle. And then once I have things projected over my miter line, I projected up for the distance of this part right here. Now, I'm going to project up a couple more lines, and then I'm going to heavy in my drawing of the top view. I have to project that line over. So I can start by, I know I have a line in the back. I have this other line here. Line there. There. And there. And what I'm doing is I'm darkening in the lines, moving down, and then I'll move from right to left. And then the only thing I'm missing now on this top view are hidden lines that show where the circle goes. So I'm going to project up this tangent of that circle, the tangent of the other side. Those tangents will give hidden lines. Oops. Remember, hidden lines, the dashes are an 1/8 of an inch. Gaps between them are a 1/16. And then I will finish with a center line. Don't forget center lines in the front view. There's going to be like a little plus right here. There is the orthographic projection.